31st. Happy Halloween to everybody. Just going to do a bit of a protest update today. So in summary, the protest began when President Cortizo signed the 20-year renewal contract with Canada's First Quantum Minerals for their copper mine in the central northern part of Panama. The contract allows a Canadian mining company to mine anywhere in the country regardless of where it is in Panama. Now, some people have said that something's a bit different about that contract, like they can mine anywhere within a certain zone inside Panama. However, other people said that it's anywhere inside the country. Because the mining company has been given rights to mine either inside a zone or in the whole part of Panama is unclear at this moment. People are saying it's unconstitutional, and so it's going through the courts right now. And the president came out, and I believe it's in the middle of December, where they will decide whether or not it's unconstitutional or not. They're going to do a vote or something like this. In the meantime, the president came out a couple days earlier and just said they're not going to allow any other contracts for mining in Panama, which we think sounds like a victory for Panama. But when you look deeper into it, all that does is give Canada's First Quantum Minerals like a monopoly on the mining here, because now no other contract can be signed. So is it a good thing? It sounds good on the surface because you're thinking, okay, good, no more contracts will be signed, but then now you got a monopoly of one mining company in Panama. So the issues around the mine is there's a drought in Panama. The copper mine takes a lot of water, and that of course affects the canal. So it's fighting for water resources for the Panama Canal. A lot of people are saying we need to focus on the Panama Canal, it's more important, because right now there's a weight restriction on the ships that can come through because of the drought. We're having heavy rain right now, so hopefully that's going to fill up the reservoirs. There's also talk that these mines, have tail end ponds and so forth that leach into the ground and contaminate the groundwater. And so there's environmental concerns for that as well. The contract itself, from what I've gathered from people that I've spoken to, is that there's not a lot of transparency regarding the contract. They don't know exactly what's in the contract because it's like a closed contract, or it's not fully transparent, is what we've been told. Now, whether or not that's true or not, I don't know exactly, but that seems to be one of the issues here with the protests. And I believe that these protests also are about not only the mine, but also possibly about what they feel is government corruption and standard of living, cost of living, and so forth that the world's experiencing. It's just sort of, it's like the straw that broke the camel's back. Last year, there were protests here that lasted for 3 weeks, and the government was able to meet the demands of the protesters, and so it stopped the protesting. It was over high food and gas prices. So the government was able to step in and somehow regulate gas pricing. The government was able to meet the demands, and the protests ended. During those protests, they were more calculated in the sense that they were scheduled. Like, we're going to be protesting here, shutting down this road, and so forth. There's more sort of organization behind the protests, where it seems that with this protest, it's just groups of Panamanians, on top of the organized protests, also groups of Panamanians going out there and blocking roads. And so it seems a bit more sporadic. You don't know exactly where these protests are going to wind up, and so from day to day, you just don't know if you're going to be able to function and move around. Panama City, the protests are contained in certain areas. Casco Viejo, which is the colonial part of town, seems to be a hot zone. The coastal strip is a hot zone. There's Calle 50 is a hot zone. There's the outside the university, Panama University is a hot zone, and so you have these hot zones where they just seem to be consistent. Then you have sporadic areas that pop up in the city where they can close them and open them, in a day. You just don't know where they are. Food is in the city. We haven't had problems provisioning here. Eggs, staples, and this and that. Fresh fruit and vegetables is getting harder to get here. Like, you can still get fruit and vegetables, but when we went to the market, they just weren't as fresh. They're mushy, they seemed old, and so this is the fruit and veg. So it was just the fruit and veg that we kind of noticed that it wasn't as fresh as it should be. Other parts of Panama are different. When you go to Bocas del Toros, for example, by road, these areas, you go through a place called Santiago, and from Panama City to Santiago seems to be okay, but then from Santiago to David and Chiriquí, which seems to be a real hot spot, is they've shut down the road pretty much almost every day. This road is a supply chain road to the Bocas del Toros region. So gasoline, propane, and food in general seems to be getting scarcer there. We haven't been there, we haven't seen it firsthand. We have friends that are there who have said this, that there are shortages, but we haven't seen it firsthand, so we don't know exactly. The San Blas Islands, they are supplied by Colón, and that road from Panama City to Colón, that seems to be shut down quite often, and so they're also experiencing fuel shortages and food supplies are difficult to get there. The advice that I've heard is that if you're traveling to Panama City right now, or to go to Bocas del Toros, or to go to the San Blas Islands, people are recommending that you just don't go there, because even though there's food and supplies there, you will be taking it away from the locals, and so that's the general thinking. But then from tourism dollars perspective, they probably really need the tourism as well, so it's plan accordingly. We can't advise, or I don't advise you to go there or not go there. That has to be down to how you feel about the situation. It's very fluid, it's always changing. Maybe tomorrow the protests will be lifted and you can cancel your trip here, it will be all for naught. Nobody knows. And that's what's a little frustrating about these protests, is that there doesn't seem to be a beginning and an end date. The protests have kind of ramped up in some ways. For example, the fishermen have now blocked the port where the First Quantum Minerals mine is in Punta Rincon. So they've sort of blockaded that port. I don't know if it's been lifted as of today, but the last couple of days they've been stopping the ships from coming in and out. We've also heard that the fishermen are also interrupting the commercial shipping, and that's unconfirmed, but we've heard that as well. So the fishermen are involved, the truckers are involved in this protest. It's these are the people that bring food to the table, so it's really ramping up. We've also heard that Panamanians around the world are protesting this now in places like Miami and London, so it's gaining traction around the world with the Panamanian community who are supporting the protesters at this time. As for us cruisers, we're sailors. We came in here, we wanted to cross the canal, we wanted to enjoy Panama City and what have you. And so we're just kind of caught in the middle of it. I'm not an expert on this by any means. We're just trying to figure things out for ourselves to see how we fit, in this situation. We've had to postpone our canal crossing because there's just no supplies on the other side. And so we're thinking, well, we'll stay on this side of the canal, the Pacific side, and wait for things to subside. But we don't know. We do have a date to cross. So if you're a cruiser and you're coming here and you're thinking about crossing the canal, you can still cross. It's just things are a little bit more challenging here because of the protests. Politically, we don't really have a stance here. We're not Panamanian, but at the same time, we want the people of Panama and people everywhere on the planet just to be happy and enjoy their lives and feel like they're being heard. So we support the people of Panama during this time, and so we wish the people of Panama all the best during this difficult time for everybody, because some areas are really being affected by this. No food, no gasoline for their vehicles to get around. Like, they're really suffering in some parts of the country. We haven't seen that, but that's what we've heard. So, we just like everything to come to a close here. And that's it. This is my daughter. And that's the update. So I hope that helps people who are thinking about coming to Panama. And good times.